So these are going to be the basics on how to stop people pleasing, because we all have to start somewhere. Here are the first steps that you should take. Welcome back to my channel. My videos are all self-improvement content. If that interests you, feel free to subscribe. And let's get into the video. So first being, forgive yourself. Realize that this is something that you have learned from somebody or have learned as a coping mechanism, because sometimes as kids we have adults around us who don't really know how to regulate their emotions, and we kind of have to develop these tendencies to stay on their good side. So that is one way, and then the other way being that is what our parents knew or the people who raised us knew, and so they taught us to be that way because that was the way they felt safe, and then that was the way they taught us to be. So those are the most common two that I have found from my experience of why most people please. I want to do a little exercise here. You can just keep it in your brain or you can write it down. I would suggest writing it down. I want you to recall the last time that you found yourself people pleasing. And I want you to write down who it was. Was it a family member, a friend? Was it somebody you knew, or was it like a random stranger? Because I found myself doing it with anybody. Random stranger at the grocery store and a parent or a family, like anybody. Some people might have certain groups of people that they people please and not others. So if it's everybody for you, then we're just gonna have to think about it a bit more. But if it's like one specific area, it might be easier to overcome. So write down who it was, why you did it, what you wanted to accomplish from it. Was it to avoid disappointment from somebody? Was it to avoid hurting somebody's feelings, or you didn't want to inconvenience them, or anything like that? Write down the reason, and then I want you to take other examples from other ones that you remember, specific memories that you have of it that you feel are worth noting. Write those down too. And then I want you to start paying attention every time it happens, or every time you feel the need to do something to please somebody else. Think before you do it. Say, is this really necessary? Always think before you do. But the most important thing to focus on here is the main cause of it, what you're trying to get out of it, what the main cause for the people pleasing, because that's going to help us fix it from there. So another thing is, a lot of us that do this also lack boundaries because we want to please other people over us, and we also don't want to cause conflict of any bit, so we kind of just let people walk all over us and use us as a doormat. And suddenly having boundaries sounds so scary because, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, suddenly one day you just walk up to Granny, who's always mean to you, always has some rude remark to say, some backhanded compliment to give you. You're just gonna walk up to her and be like, I don't like that you said that. Suddenly, after never standing up for yourself in your life, well, actually, that is exactly what you're gonna do. And it's scary as hell because you know what? You don't know what the response is gonna be. But for the most part, what I have found is that the people who had been saying stuff like that and being rude, that I just had let them before, suddenly, like, standing up for myself, it made them take a step back for a second, but it didn't make them get mad or anything. They weren't like suddenly triggered. And you know what? Some people are going to be suddenly triggered, and if they aren't able to stand on your boundaries, and then you shouldn't spend time around that person. And I know sometimes it can be hard because, like, what if it's a family member? But you can also distance yourself from them. You don't really have to talk to them. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's like a controversial topic, like, to respect your elders and stuff, but if your elders aren't respecting you, then, like, you don't owe them anything. So start practicing new boundaries. Write down some that are important to you that you want to start implementing. Don't be scared because, well, maybe it's inevitable, but you can do it. There's even small ways you can start. Like how I started them, I was kind of like joking, but I wasn't joking. I was like being serious. But I did that to make it a little easier for myself, and it still kind of worked because it was like getting them used to hearing you like stand up for yourself suddenly. So then when you actually were like, okay, like seriously stop, they were like, oh, okay, sorry. But seriously though, the people that won't respect it, you shouldn't be around. And I know sometimes like that can be a hard thing to accomplish, but it's something that we need to do for ourselves, because the more you allow people to walk all over you, the harder life is in general. I used to be the biggest people pleaser when I was a kid until one day, the first time I stood up for myself, I'm not sure how old I was. I was probably like 12. But these girls in this place that I was going to had found that I would do things for them because I was kind of a doormat and I hadn't learned not to be yet. And this place was a little bit of a tough environment. Everybody kind of stood up for themselves and whatever, and I was the only one that was like a softie. And finally one day she's like, go get my water bottle. And I was like, no. And she was like, okay. So sometimes the like whoever it is will lash back and be like yeah, like they'll get mad because they feel like they're losing control, but like sometimes also they'll just be like, oh, sorry. Even like some random people who are rude to you like in public, like the random like Karens and stuff, like if you call them out in like the right way, they'll like be like, oh, say something. It's almost like you're talking to a child. All you have to say is that that's not a very nice thing to say, or that's kind of a rude thing to say. It can be like something simple like that. You don't even have to go super like in depth with it. You don't have to have some perfect comeback. Just like something somebody would say to a child to make them be like, oh, sorry. Sometimes it just works on these adults because you know what, we're all kids at heart. So yes, but boundaries is a big part of this because as people pleasers, we lack boundaries. So start building up your boundaries, practice, and get serious on it. And yes, you can just wake up one day and say, I don't like being treated that way. It doesn't make me feel good. So we're gonna change this. And if somebody has a problem with it, bye. So that is the most important one. So write down a list of boundaries and start implementing them in. Very important. One step at a time though. You got this. Another thing I wanted to mention was how often people pleasers will say sorry. Like, we'll say, I don't even like to say we because like I feel like I've gotten way better about this. And so I feel like I'm like placing myself into this category when I'm trying to work my way out of it. So that's another thing. Don't label yourself as a people pleaser. So I'm changing, I'm setting my boundary in the middle of this video. I'm changing it to people pleasers in general. I'm just gonna stop roping myself into this. Okay, see how easy it is? Okay. Apologies, unnecessary apologies, are something that I used to do because I used to be a people pleaser. Let's say that. So stop identifying yourself as one as you work on fixing this. Because what you tell your brain is what it believes. And we got an affirmation to help at the end. So stay tuned for that. How many times do you apologize to somebody for no reason? A random stranger, you walk by them, you don't even bump into them, but you go and you apologize. Or you just say sorry for absolutely no reason, or something was somebody else's fault and you're like, oh, sorry. Before you say sorry, think, or let somebody else say sorry, and don't constantly try to take the blame for things that weren't even your fault. So before you say sorry, think, is this actually necessary? You're allowed to pause for a second. It's okay. Because if you don't need to say it, don't say it. Now another thing, realize this is your life. So when people go and try to tell you something, tell you how to live your life because they want to have control over you, especially family, I see this a lot with family, telling their kids how they want them to be, what job they want them to have, how long they want them to go to college, which college to go to, what grades to get, all of this kind of thing. And just realize that it's your life and take this into account for anything else. You want to make them happy. You just want them off your back. So you're like, whatever, I'll do it. But remember, this is your life. Is this really what you want? So look at who you're taking advice from. I always think about this. Look at who you're taking advice from. Is this person living the life you want? Because when you take somebody's advice, you're gonna end up more like them. Except in certain circumstances, I guess, when it's like somebody giving you great advice that they don't take themselves. But when it's somebody telling you how to live your life, then don't take that advice from them. Think, would I want to live like this person? Does this person hate their life? And they're telling me to live the same life that they're living, to go in their footsteps? Why would you? You know, misery loves company. So of course they're gonna try to get you to live the same life as them, go in their footsteps, because they don't want to be alone in this. They like being able to have somebody to control. And the more you people please, the more you let that happen. And you know what? At some point, they'll just get over it. And if they don't, well, too bad. It's your life. It's your life, okay? You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have all the things you want in life, meet all the goals you want in life. Just because they haven't done something and just because anybody else in your family has never done that kind of thing doesn't mean you shouldn't. You're allowed to go out of your comfort zone. You are allowed to love your life and live it how you want without the influence of others. Now, they can look down on you all they want, but you deserve to be happy. So who cares? Because at some point, you know what? You're not going to be on your deathbed and saying, I wish I held myself back more. You're going to be like, I wish I did all those things I wanted to do and stopped caring what my family thought and what my family wanted me to do. And I wish I just went for it because that's what I always wanted to do. You're never going to say you wish you did less on your deathbed. So just remember that before you go and take somebody's advice who hates their life. Now, when these people get mad at you, it's because it's a reflection of them. They're using you as a mirror. So when they see that you're not following in their footsteps and you're going and doing something great that's making you happy and that's going to make you happy, it scares them because first of all, it either makes them feel like they're losing control or reacting out of their own fear because they're afraid of things like that. And they are implementing that into you, and that's where limiting beliefs come from, especially from a young age. We're taught things from our parents and they have their limiting beliefs, and so they implement those into us, and whether we necessarily believe them or not, they still live in our subconscious. So if we're told them enough, it's somewhere in there, and that's going to hold you back a little bit. So that's where journaling and inner work all comes in, and so we can ditch those limiting beliefs and get to our dream life. But anyway, so yes, they're either reacting out of fear or they're mad that they're losing control, or both. So that's the reason for the anger when this happens, when you decide to go do something different that somebody who's trying to control your life doesn't like. Now, to finish this all up, I want to leave an affirmation with you that I want you to repeat to yourself every time you feel like you need to hear it. And that is, I am allowed to take up space. I have this on a sticky note on my mirror, and every time, for example, if I ever felt like I was inconveniencing somebody, I tell myself, I am allowed to take up space. Anytime that feels like it would be helpful, I repeat it to myself, either out loud or in my head, depending where I am. You are allowed to take up space. You don't have to live this life for somebody else. You don't have to apologize for anything and everything. You are allowed to enjoy your life, and you don't have to cater to the needs and wants of everybody else on this planet. You are the most important thing. You are the priority. Your happiness should always be the goal. And if somebody doesn't like that, then that's kind of sad, because everybody you love and everybody who loves you should want you to be happy. So remember, misery loves company. So when people want to drag you down, it's because they don't want to be alone in it. But guess what? You don't have to join them down there. Anyway, I hope this finds you well. I hope this helps you out. I hope you decided to write this down, and I hope you decide to implement this in, and I hope everything works out for you and that you're able to live your dream life, and that on your deathbed, you're able to say that you did everything that you ever wanted to do and more. So I love you. Let me know if there's any other kind of video content that you want me to post about, any other topics, if you want me to go more depth, if you want me to go more in depth in this. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Bye.